I think I'm saying that we struggle all our lives to answer it. That it's the struggle that is important. That's what helps us to define our place in the universe.
This is Beverly, Dr. Beverly, Dr. Beverly Crusher.
Look where we are. Here, all of us in this moment. So let's do what we spent our entire lives learning to be great at.
And this is Crusher Convo. Hey guys, and welcome to Crusher Convo. We're crushing the conversation one episode at a time, and I am here to talk about the penultimate episode of season 1 of Starfleet Academy, 300th Night. As always, if you have not seen this episode, please turn back now because there will be spoilers.
Spoilers.
Like any school, the very first year being done with is always a cause for celebration, and that's what we're seeing. And it's funny because I noticed right off the bat that when Genesis had pulled Sam looked different than we normally see. So I knew that was probably going to be something happening for the rest of the episode. And then, of course, they were having the bonding ritual in Klingon. I can't remember the actual words, but I called it. I was all like, oh, it's Klingon. And then I was like, oh, it's the bonding. It's just like Worf and Jeremy Astor, who we never saw again. So here is Jaden trying to bond with his newfound siblings, including Caleb. But of course, Caleb has still been wrestling with the fact that he still hasn't found his mom. He's still wondering where she is. He is enjoying the life that he created at Starfleet Academy, but it's not what he wanted originally, right? And so it was very hard for him. And of course, Darum goes on the defense with Jaden, but I think Jaden understood a little bit of where Caleb was coming from, so he didn't pursue it. And of course, I was right when it came to Genesis and Sam, because Sam told her that she wanted to be on her own next year and not have a roommate, which that did hurt Genesis's feelings. So curious of where this is going to lead into this last episode between Genesis and Sam, or just Sam in general, having this new personality and having two, really, because she said that she had memories of the old Sam and didn't like it. So we'll see where that goes on her story. But yeah, just showing how everything is going at the end of the year and then where it's going to lead us to the finale.
He targeted the Miyazaki. But his endgame was the Omega on that space station. I knew he wasn't done with us.
That wasn't the only classified weapon held there. He's developed time-delayed containment devices.
You're saying he has Omega-47 in mind?
Yes. And he could choose to target any Federation world.
And detonate them remotely. Billions of lives could be lost.
Kelrick, I was wondering where he was because we hadn't seen him in the last couple episodes. I'm sure he was mourning over the loss of his cadet. Why on earth, and I've said this before because this is not the first time we've seen it, why is the Federation creating horrible weaponry, right? Like, this is extremely dangerous. Why would they even attempt to even have this? I don't get it. Again, just barely starting watching Discovery. I have no idea if the Omega-47 or Omega or whatever, which means the end, is a part of that story, but why? Why Federation? I don't understand why they would create that kind of weaponry, including even more, scary, high-tech stuff like these mines that he created. So, Nus is very smart. He understood that the Federation just can't help themselves and basically be the cause of their own destruction.
You're smart. I'm smarter.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Oh.
Are you stealing this shuttle?
Caleb found his mom, and she's on a planet that's about to be swamped by the Venari Rao.
Wait, you found her?
Yeah, but how did you find me?
I didn't. I volunteered to help lock down the shuttle bay. You have to tell the Chancellor.
I can't. Command has called the entire fleet back into Federation space. No one gets in or out. Once I tell Nala, she'll be forced to report it, and I won't put her in that position.
So, of course, with Sam help, Caleb found his mom, and this was such a really sweet moment because he was sharing it with Sam. And of course, Sam is kind of going through this new discovery of who she is. And so her being there for Caleb was a really nice little moment. It was kind of sad to know that there was 2 years worth of messages from the mom. And of course, you hear her saying, "Happy birthday. I can't believe you're now 20," and all, it's just, it was a good moment. And of course, he's like, "I'm hightailing out of here." Now, he was originally going to be telling Nala, but the moment he heard that Nala was kind of in the middle of something with the Federation, he did not want to put her in a predicament to have to choose, right? Because he knew she was dead set in helping him and helping any kid and not break promises, right? And he didn't want to put her in that position because he knew that she might have to break a promise to him or the Federation. Okay, so that was going to be put her in a bad spot. And Caleb cares enough for Nala to not do that. That might be a little bit tricky when his mom is now in the picture. But of course, Genesis being the good girl, helping locking things down. Sam not being so much of the good girl. She even stole her dad's security codes or like redid them. And then, of course, Darren shows up drunk because they clearly cannot break down any enzymes at all. So this whole moment here where all of a sudden they kidnap Genesis, Darren just, hitchhikes a ride. And Sam's like, "I'm not going to let you ruin this for him." It's a shift, right? Now, Sam always cared about everyone before, but you can kind of see she's leaning towards Caleb in a certain way than she did with Genesis. So, again, curious where this might go. But now they're off on their own adventure against Genesis as well.
You were so little.
Yeah, but you taught me how to survive.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, Mom, you never have to apologize. I got by.
How, honey?
I found this place that kind of takes in strays. I had food, place to sleep.
So they land on this place that kind of remind me of, Metellus Prime in Picard, but it also, my husband and I were watching and he definitely said he felt like Blade Runner vibes. I was saying, Star Wars, like, the underground of Coruscant and all that stuff. Again, outside of Federation space, there is still a lot of bad stuff happening, even 32nd century. So, and of course, this is also post-burn. So maybe they were starting to get better at this sort of thing. But then because of post-burn, it went, 10 steps back. Find his mom. This is a very heartbreaking moment, the fact that she had to deal with the guilt of, Caleb being on his own this whole time and having to learn to survive. I liked his little thing of, I found a place that took in some strays. And so he's talking about the academy because there was a lot of kids who didn't really have anything and they took him in to give him a better future. But of course, he knew that saying that he was part of the Federation or part of Starfleet was going to kill her. And of course, the kids, like Genesis and Darren, they don't understand how that is going to affect her. So Caleb's kind of in a tough spot. And I've been mentioning this entire time. He is going to have to choose between the life that he wanted to the life that he's created. And he's going to have to try and find that middle. He should be able to have both, but it's really up to his mom in a lot of ways. And also understand just how much Caleb has grown to and trust people. And he does in this sense. Now he tried to push them away, which we'll talk about here in a second. But it's one of these things where Caleb now is going to be in a tough predicament. And I'm wondering how this is going to shift into the final episode of the season.
Our cadets locking on.
Oh. Hi, guys.
Are you kidding me? What is wrong with you two? Cadets Krog and Sadal? Explain yourselves. Actually don't. No. Dude, how did you evade internal sensors?
If you increase the pressure in airlock B by 0.029%, it blocks life signs.
Well, that's a design flaw.
I laughed so hard at this scene. Holly Hunter was hilarious. Just the blinking, the constant, like, she's having a moment of, like, system failure, right? Buffering. Like, she's trying to just comprehend exactly what had just happened. When Caleb was arguing with Darum later on, he had asked, does Jaden know? And Caleb was quiet. And to him, no, he didn't say anything to Jaden, but he did. Jaden got a letter or something and showed Terima. That's why they're just like, no, we got to help them. But this was not in Nala's cards, right? She was just like, oh crap, now I have to take care of 2 more of you. But Jaden was very, he was like, he is my chosen brother. I'm going to do whatever I can to help them. And of course, Terima's going to go and try and help as well. There wasn't a lot for them to do in this episode. And so I was kind of like, besides this little funny moment, what is the role that Jaden and Terima are going to have in this finale? I'm sure it's going to be big, but it was just kind of like thrown in there, like, oh, they, snuck onto the ship. I don't know. It just kind of felt out of place. It just seemed like it was just a quick write-in to do so, which I guess, this episode was only 56 minutes long, including credits, but I don't know. It just seemed a little off to me. And so I was like, wonder what's going to happen with these 2 in the final episode, because they are separated, right? And I just, again, this whole scene was hilarious. And, Reno just being like, oh, hey, guys. And then, doctor's like, throw him in the brig. It was a funny moment. But I'm just curious of where this is going to lead into the finale.
Save you years of pain. You will never measure up to your father, the Admiral. You are inherently selfish and insecure. No one's going to follow you into battle because you don't give a shit about anyone else except for yourself. It's written all over you. Learn that now and let the poor guy off the hook, save him years of disappointment. And Sam?
I'm so full of shit.
So here's the big moment. He's saying that he's going to be going with his mom, and they're like, that wasn't part of the plan. Granted, there never really was a plan. His plan was to go find his mom without them. And so, yeah, that kind of was always the plan, I guess. So for them to think that they were just going to grab the mom and all leave, they're kind of naive in this situation. They don't know what it's like outside of this world, right? Outside of the world that they created, outside of what Genesis has done, or, Darum has been part of. Sam, which is barely created. So they don't quite understand exactly where Caleb is coming from. We do see Sam see what Caleb is trying to do. He started chewing out Darum, saying, I've had your number since the day I met you. Started going off on Genesis, and then he was going to go off on Sam, and he was going to just make them hate him, so then it was just easier for him to let them go. I called that right in the beginning, but Sam also called it. She was like, you're full of shit. And that's exactly right. He was doing that on purpose. But because Genesis has these insecurities, and because Darum has these, his own family issues, they don't want to believe that he was trying to do them a favor. They were just like, screw you, Caleb. Fine, whatever. We don't care anymore. But Sam knew. And that's where she was just like, okay, goodbye. She had nothing really bad to say to Caleb. She just knew that he had to leave. And so this was a nice moment in that sense where he's now going to go with his mom. But of course, things never end up going as planned.
What the?
Deanna Troi, anyone? Okay, the moment I saw this, I was like, oh, this is like in Picard with the Borg and Deanna Troi are swooping in and collecting Riker and Worf and Picard and Jack, and that's the moment. Now, granted, a lot of the shows, like I know Voyager had always gone into the, planet and stuff like that, so this isn't the first time we've seen this, but the big catalyst of all of this is the fact that his mom found out those kids were Federation. She was like, oh shit. And then the moment he heard that they were captured, he's like, I'm sorry, I have to go save them. Because he does care. His life is split. He is also an Academy boy and he's also Anisha's son. So that's where he's conflicted. But he's like, I can't let them die. They didn't choose to come. Sam did, but the other two didn't. And this was his story, his journey, his decision to come out here. So he had to go help them. But because Anisha's all like, well, that's my son and I'm not going to lose him again, I'm also going to help. And even though she hates the Federation, she hates Starfleet, she's going to do anything she can to help Caleb and these kids. Like, she's not going to let them die. So there's this whole moment. Anisha gets shot. All this goes down. And here, I believe Nala called it the Kapa. And then, so that sounds like a Klingon term. And then, Reno was all like, oh, it's going to get bumpy. And then this is what they did. But again, we've seen this before. I don't know what the Kapa is, or that's what it was called. But to me, it's the Deanna Troi, okay? This is the moment that Deanna Troi had swooped in and redeemed herself after all those jokes saying that she crashed the Enterprise not once but twice, and that is false. Again, this was a cool moment, and that's why with Sam being like, this is a flex, and seeing that new part of her of growing up and knowing those terms and, just being not the same Sam that we saw before. But again, this was a really cool moment. And of course, they beam him on board. Anisha's in the sick bay. And, we think like, oh, save the day. Of course, that's not going to happen because this is the second to last episode of the season.
The mines.
We can't cross here. We can't cross anywhere.
Find a breach. We have to get back.
There aren't any.
No. He's not going to use the mines to attack us. He maneuvered us into a defensive position and then put a wall around the entire Federation. He put us in a box.
So Nus has this plan of detonating all of these Omega-47s around Federation space in order to box them in so they can no longer ever warp outside of that area. So basically, essentially, slowly killing the Federation. As we saw, I, of course, haven't seen the whole burn story, but the burn caused massive destruction among a lot of planets over the course of how many years? 120 years, I think it was, to the point where it was devastating for so many people. Look what happened with the Klingons, right? And in this case, it's his way of just like, I hate you guys so much. I'm going to let you starve. I'm going to let you have a slow, painful death, and it will just destroy the Federation overall. But of course, they're outside of it. And so we have the core group, outside of this wall. And it is going to take a lot of strategic, ideas and trying to figure out how they could defeat Nus, help the Federation in this tiny little group. Again, Picard season 3 thought of the same thing. It took that little core group that were not affected by the Borg, because all the young cadets and ensigns and all that stuff were completely taken over. And so it was Raffi and it was Seven and it was Picard and, the whole gang being the only ones that could save the Federation and save Earth and all of that. Same concept, right? The very ending was also very interesting because here comes Nala walking in saying Anisha was okay, but she's like, I'm on a Federation starship. And that moment of, she's probably like, I'm going to kill you. But Caleb now cares for Nala, cares for his mom. He's now going to be that bridge between these two women. Okay. Now, of course, Nala feels completely guilty. And I'm curious if maybe Nala might have done something extra to make Anisha hate her even more. But I guess we'll find out next week. But this is going to be an interesting reunion of all sorts, especially because they're going to need Anisha to let them know, like, how do we defeat Nus? She knows Nus Braka so well. She knows the Venali Rawl so well. She is going to be a big help in all of this. And I hope that she just doesn't die in order to save Caleb and the Federation. I don't know how this is going to end, but clearly something big is going to happen, I think, next week. But this whole episode was very just a straight line of just preparing for the next episode, just trying to get it, put all the chess pieces in the right order for a checkmate. So it was kind of it was all right, in my opinion. So I'm excited for next week because I think that's going to be the big explosion. I think that's going to be the big deal. So yeah, I'm curious of what you all think.
My tricorder.
All right, guys, I got 6 votes for this tricorder rating. There was 5 Ashanis, 4 reunions, 3 bondings, and 1 to 2 Omega 47s. So 33% for 5, 33% for 4, 17% for 3, and 17% for 1 to 2. I've gotten a 1 vote on the 1 to 2 on every single poll, so I think there is a hater out there. Or maybe you guys really just didn't like it, which is fine. Maybe it was a 2 for you guys. I don't know. I felt really indifferent when I saw this episode. I wasn't like crying and excited, but I wasn't like, oh, this is boring, So I was kind of like middle of the road. I give this a 3. I was not overly excited about it. Like I said, they were just trying to put the puzzle pieces, the chess pieces, whatever you want to call it, in order to get to the final episode, which happens all the time. But I just wasn't into it as much as I was with the other episodes. I'm wondering, now I know that Kyle and all them are on, Beta Z right now, but I was like, we didn't see Kyle. We didn't see like a last moment between Jaden and him. We barely got a little bit when it came to Kelrek. I don't know. We didn't see Laura Thok at all. I'm like, where's she been the last couple episodes? So again, it was okay and probably not my favorite, but again, it wasn't horrible. It was a decent episode. It just, they've done such brilliant episodes these last couple of times, and so this one just kind of fell flat for me.
Any for your thoughts?
I did get a couple of pennies on this episode over on Blue Sky. We have Brandon, who said a pretty solid 8 to 10. So just giving his rating over there. And then, of course, Blue Shirt Guru on Blue Sky, also an 8. It was good, well written, and builds promise to a possibly great finale. Absolutely true. Okay, that's what I was saying. They're just putting the pieces together just to get it to the finale. It just didn't seem as exciting, I guess. And like I said, it wasn't bad. It just wasn't as great as I was kind of hoping, because even at Picard season 3, Vox was very exciting. There was a lot happening, and that was the penultimate episode leading up to the finale. So I feel like they could have done a little more. I feel like Jaden Tarima was just kind of there. And I know this was all about really bringing back Anisha, which was perfectly fine. But I don't know. There was just some moments that I feel like they could have tightened a little bit better. But again, wasn't a bad episode, guys. It was really, really great. I'm actually excited about the finale. I hope you are too. And so, yeah, I just think that this season 1 of Starfleet Academy has really gone back to the roots of Star Trek, have really showcased a lot of great things about why we love Star Trek. And so I am excited for the finale, and I'm excited for season 2. All right, guys, so what are your thoughts about this episode? Comment below, like this video, and if you haven't yet, please subscribe so you can get more Crusher Convo content. And also, guys, this has been an exciting adventure with Starfleet Academy. And like I said, I'm super excited to see what the future holds. I know right now there is no shows greenlit nor any Star Trek in production. And so we have to keep showing our Star Trek love and making sure that that franchise continues and continues to grow and showcase the IDIC and the hope for a better future. So yeah, also meet me on Friday nights where I would be dropping my normal Crusher Convo episodes. I will be doing Lower Decks Waidush. I don't know how to say it in Klingon. No guest yet, so hopefully someone might be able to come out and join me that night. But I'm also going to be interviewing Doug Drexler, and that is going to be very exciting, and that's going to drop at the end of the month. So thank you for watching, and as always, live long and prosper.
Crusher out.